What's up, everybody? Happy Saturday to you. We're getting started here in just a few minutes for TV and radio, but we're up live now here on our stream, and we appreciate it. Joining us here on Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. We got a bunch to talk about here over the next 2 hours. What's up, Randy? How are you, buddy?
Do you like the game last night?
Terrible.
I mean,
terrible.
I expected that from Indiana, but Notre Dame's no better than they are.
No, they're not very. I mean, they made one run in the first half, and then, it really came down. I know it came down to a 10-point game, but I mean, they made one run, and then they had the field goal situation where Cignetti called that timeout after Indiana had stopped them and gave them a field goal. That's 10 points right there. I mean, but Indiana's offense is terrible.
They're terrible.
So
quarterback's terrible. Offensive line is worse than any offensive line we've got in the SEC. Absolutely. Nobody compares to that. If you give up a 98-yard run too, I mean, what's your secondary doing?
That one kid made a horrific. He took a horrific angle.
That's my point. You can't give up a 98. I mean, you got to have 4 secondary guys. Very, very pitiful.
Yep.
In all of his actions leading into the game, I don't want that guy.
Talking about Cignetti.
Y'all him.
He is a jerk he's a jerk. And I mean,
I love what Saban said to him. So, I mean, I know it was kind of in joking, but he didn't run his mouth. Don't say that they're exactly alike, because he didn't sit there and run his mouth.
Right.
I mean, it was.
It's terrible.
Shane Gillis, what he said about him was dead on. What coach comes out there before the game to try to get him a little pub?
I know it.
Outside of somebody like him. That was bad.
Here we go.
All right.
Good morning and welcome into the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. We're glad that all of you have joined us here on this Saturday morning, the Saturday before Christmas. And so Merry Christmas to all of our viewers and listeners out there, wherever it is that you might be tuning us in. We got a ton to talk about here on the show this morning. So we're glad that you've joined us here on the program. And Luke will be jumping in here with us a little bit later on, and excited to hear from what you guys are thinking out there. We'll take your comments, your questions, all that good stuff. We have a college football playoff game under our belt now, and it wasn't the best start for the college football playoff. I can promise you that. So just not a very interesting game at all. I mean, I thought the environment was awesome. The start, but the question mark surrounded whether Indiana deserved to be in the thing. And look, I know I saw one tweet last night that said, post selection, what a team does in the playoffs is no reflection on why somebody gets selected. And I can see that. I mean, the committee's got to defend themselves to a point on something like that, but we all question Indiana and who they had beaten this year. And they had played really one team, and Ohio State beat them pretty handily. And so their body of work was not really good. So they come into this game, and this is the second, obviously, real game that everybody felt like they had played. And, defensively they hung in there. I'll give them credit, because they gave their it felt so much like watching Auburn. Your defense is keeping you in the game, but your offense, you have zero faith or hope that your offense is going to muster up anything to challenge the other team. So that's kind of why I saw it. I mean, Notre Dame wins the game. They move on to play Georgia. I mean, I'm thinking Georgia's sitting there looking at both those teams going, I don't really care who I play. Bring them on.
No, I don't think either of those teams can match up with Georgia from a line of scrimmage standpoint at all. And look, they'll have their opportunities. And Shane Gillis before the game, I thought a few of his comments were dead on. One of them is I do believe parity in college football has come back in the fold. And I think we can all applaud that. And he was making humor of Nick Saban being out of the game, and that has allowed parity to come back. And part of that is true, because if you watch Alabama play, none of us are terrified of playing them anymore like we were during his tenure. But back to Indiana, let's start there. Indiana, a line of scrimmage standpoint, does not match up with the SEC. Maybe they get there, but I doubt it. Athleticism was way, way behind even a Notre Dame team. We've talked over the last several weeks about Riley Leonard, and would he have made a big impact on Auburn compared to what we got with Peyton Thorne and others? I don't see it. I think he's okay. I think he is a much better athlete than Peyton Thorne and some others that we've had. I mean, his athleticism, you and I've known since he was at Fairhope High School. I've been making highlight.
He looks slow
making,
to me, though.
Yeah, but he's got enough athleticism to at least scare you, and you got to honor that he can pull the ball and run and make plays with it.
Peyton Thorne could. He could run too. I mean, I didn't really see much of a difference, Randy. I'll be honest with you. I mean, their record's better, no doubt. And I think Peyton Thorne made some bad decisions, but man, I thought I was watching the imps of each other, to be honest. Seriously. I didn't see a dime's difference.
Yeah, I don't know from a speed standpoint, but I can see it a little bit better with Riley Leonard than I get with Peyton Thorne this year. Now, the version of Peyton Thorne that we got last year, we didn't get this year. Now, was that a change up of offensive philosophy? Maybe so. But running back there for Notre Dame, very good. Reminds me a little bit of Tank Bigsby, Brett. I know that number probably is part of the reason that he does, but he's got explosiveness, and that 98-yard run. Anybody that gets a 98-yard run in college football has got breakaway speed, because you've got to leave 3 or 4 secondary players, especially if you're inside your own 10-yard line. You got to outrun all of them to the end zone. So Notre Dame's got some pieces. I don't think they're anywhere near a championship caliber team. I think Georgia will drum them. I mean, like 2 or 3 scores, maybe even worse. I'd be surprised if not. The only way that I think Georgia stays in it, Brett, or Notre Dame hangs in there with Georgia, is if Georgia's quarterback plays poor. And Georgia's had moments this year where their quarterback play has been poor, and they've got a backup quarterback that will be starting in this football game. But that's not SEC football. And we've seen it in basketball right now, too. It's not only football, it's in basketball. Did I see a stat where the SEC matched up with the other Power 4 conferences this year leading into SEC play is 40-4
I'm not
in games in basketball?
I saw, man, there's been a bunch of stats out about the SEC in basketball so far this year. And I was on Gary Harris's show yesterday morning, and we talked about it. I mean, he said he'd have Alabama ranked down around 5th or 6th right now in the SEC. And he said that's just because this conference is ridiculous. I mean, there's probably 11 legit teams that have a shot to make a run in March in this
Sweet
league.
16 run.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we talk about the depth in this league in all sports, and it's never shown itself any more than it's showing it right now. It's not going to get any better for the rest of the country. I mean, everybody wants to play in this league. You know, the best of the best end up now. Oregon, they can buy people. Ohio State will get theirs. But, man, when you take out the sprinkling of those teams in the country, really it's all about competing in this conference. And if you can compete in this conference at the top level, you're always going to be in it, always.
Back to the Bows and the Joes that you get into your school, and we beat this like a dead horse over the last few years with NIL and transfer portal. But the rich keep getting richer, and I do see some semi-parity just because we've lost a few great coaches.
Sure.
But I don't see any real parity when it comes to the SEC matched up night in and night out with any of these conferences in most of the sports. And I see it getting further and further away now that you've added Texas and Oklahoma to the mix with the SEC. And, is that good? Is it bad? To me, back to our conversation all this week about the leverage point with the NCAA and the Power 4, I think that the SEC's got all the leverage. I mean, if you want to go fight, which I would, fight for us. If you're the commissioner of the SEC, fight our battles.
right?
Because we are driving the bus right now. And when the SEC is playing as well as they are in each of these sports and dominating these sports, as we bring Luke Robinson in, Luke, we're just really talking about the dominance of the SEC passing the eye test with what we saw last night.
Yeah.
I'll lead you in with that.
Yeah. First of all, this is why, and you guys, I know he writes for an Auburn site. Philip Marshall loves to talk about how much he hates the eye test. He just hates it. Just results matter. If results only matter, then we're going to keep getting some Indianas. If you watch that game last night and you think Indiana deserved to play for a national championship, I cannot do anything for you. That team is not very good. And you go, but they won 11 games or whatever. They played the Little Sisters of the Poor over and over and over again. Now, they got very lucky in their conference. Nothing they could do about that. They just got super lucky in a bloated conference. Their non-conference was so bad, it's disgusting. And to not penalize them for that is where the committee screwed up. And I've tweeted out several things about it last night, and some of them got some action. Some people are like, no, they got it right. You're just spurring because Alabama did. No, I'm not even speaking for Alabama. South Carolina would have been done better. Ole Miss would have been better. Miami would have been better. BYU would have been better. Alabama would have been better. And also, the precedent they set by letting SMU and Indiana in is we just don't care, just win your games. Okay, that's what I've been saying. And that let's just let everybody play a bunch of soup cans. But I don't think we want that. And everybody gets their underwear all bunched up because we say the truth that the SEC is better. It has been better. And also, boy, imagine this. When you play a tougher schedule, it makes the easier games on your schedule even tougher. For instance, when Alabama plays Georgia and the next week they play a scrappy Vanderbilt team that ended up going to a bowl game, by the way. It's not your traditional Vanderbilt team. Yeah, there's a better chance they might lose that game than, say, when Indiana plays Charlotte and then comes back with FIU and then comes back with Purdue. Yeah, that's not too hard.
Yeah.
And so all these people saying, we just got to give them a chance. We never know till they get a chance. Okay, we gave them a chance. They stunk it up. Can we now say, let's put the 12 best in there? Let's not put the 12 with the best records, because the records are important. It's all part of a grand tapestry. The records are important. You do need to win more than you lose for 100% sure. But you got to beat somebody.
Yeah, but the quality has to be a part of the deal. I mean, it has to be an element, a major element in the deciding of who gets in and who doesn't. So, well, Luke, glad to have you on this morning. We're going to go ahead and take our first break here on TV and radio. Everybody stay tuned. We're just getting started on the Saturday Sports Countdown. Yeah, that was horrible.
I felt so validated last night. I don't know that I've ever felt. I've been prouder of myself. That I was like, all these people telling me how much. Oh, Indiana, Kurt Signetti out there going, we beat the blank out of everybody.
Hey, guess what? He's terrible. That guy, he's a straight prick. I mean, that's what we were all talking about last night watching the game. I'm like, he's just got old sour. He just soured up old man. Just acts. He's arrogant. That's what he is. That's what he comes across.
You go around and you beat Pisgah and you beat Ayrton and you beat Bessemer Academy, and then you play Ohio State and get waxed. And you go, well, if it weren't for about 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 29 plays, we were right there. They had us for about 29 better plays. Otherwise, it's just, who knows? It's always 0-0 when you kick off.
Well, I said this several weeks ago when we were talking about Indiana, if y'all remember. That schedule was made by Indiana because they're always trying to win 6 games. They're trying to always get to a bowl game, but they happen to have a team that made a run this year. So they said, well, crap, we've won all our games except for one. Why can't we get in the playoffs? And so, again, I think you go back to the element, you go, okay, next year, if you schedule a couple tougher teams to go along with this schedule, then we'll consider you getting in. But this year, it's not going to happen because you just described their sisters of the
I'm kind of glad it did happen, though. I'm kind of glad because I think now people realize, okay, we can't do it this way. I don't think this mistake will be made again. I don't think. I mean, it might be. Again, here's the other problem. We got 12 teams. Everybody said we got to have all this expansion. There ain't 12 teams that deserve this. I've said it I've screamed it from the mountaintops that even Alabama doesn't really deserve it. I was just hoping my undeserving team got in because there are 12 spots they are going to fill. So South Carolina doesn't deserve it. Ole Miss, SMU doesn't deserve it. Clemson doesn't deserve it. Arizona State doesn't deserve it. Let's go down the list. Hell, I'm not sure Texas deserves it.
Yeah, I'm not either. I think you look. A lot of people had arguments with SMU and Texas with their results. I mean,
how about Penn State? Penn State's only beaten Illinois. That's it.
It's not going.
Oregon. That's what I'm saying. Like when we expanded, people thought that it was just going to be. All I've heard all day on the national shows was this game, this atmosphere is going to be so awesome. It's going to be off the charts. We were in there after he took off on a 98-yard run on the second drive. Everybody was like, oh, maybe that other team stinks. You go 98 yards on your second drive on one run, your team stinks.
That's the longest play given up in Indiana history, by the way.
And they did it in the second play of the CFP.
All right, here we go. We got about 15 seconds.
You lead us in, Brett.
I will. Welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. Glad that you joined us out there, wherever it is that you're joining us this morning. A lot to talk about here, talking about, obviously, the college football playoff game, the first ever last night that kept everybody on the edge of their seat all night. I mean, I'm telling you, this thing, boy, this one will go down in history. For sure.
The only way this kept you on the edge of your seat was if you were standing on your seat with a noose around your neck waiting to jump so this thing would get over.
That's a pretty good description, no doubt about it. We got some comments coming in. We'll get to those. Romulus said Alabama should schedule like Indiana now. They are poor and can't buy players to compete like they used to. Easier schedules favor them since they are poor. We got a lot of
hey, Romulus, just FYI, Romulus, we're the fifth most valuable program in the country behind Texas, Texas A&M, Ohio State, and Michigan. And everybody's just killing Greg Byrne. I think what Greg Byrne did was what we have to do. I mean, y'all heard the stories made the rounds pretty good. Now an SEC team came in trying to get one of Alabama's players who doesn't even start full time, by the way, and the name's not out there, but so I'm not going to say it, but another LSU team, not Auburn, came in and offered about $600,000. Then they doubled it. Then they took it to 1.8, and the guy didn't leave because I think he's an Alabama guy, whatever. And I think he also was like, okay, I think I can get developed here a little better, maybe. I don't know, but the point is, if everybody doesn't start getting a lot more money, this is what's going to happen. I mean, everybody could end up at Texas, Texas A&M, Indiana, Ohio State, and Michigan. You know, they do have what is it? Texas is worth about $1.3 billion or whatever. No, yeah, that's right, $1.3 billion. I mean, we don't want it. Nobody wants it like this. I'm all for the players getting paid, but this is kind of ridiculous.
Well, Luke, it comes down, and Randy, I'm going to let you jump in. I'm going to say one thing, Randy. I'll let you respond. To me, and Randy and I've talked about this on the portal for 3 days. On the podcast. Portal just comes out of my mouth now. I say it so dang much.
It comes out of your mouth.
Exactly. How about that? Portal to portal.
Word portal.
The portal is the problem. All of us are fine with pay for players, but the portal causes all of this negotiating and free agency every 6 months in college football. And other sports too. You got to stop all this. You got to limit this. And Randy, I'll let you jump in.
Well, I didn't see it getting to this point a few years ago, but we were told by the collective and someone that was very active in the collective with Alabama, Luke, and the three of us were in a conversation with him, and he pointed to this is where it's going, and it's here. When we first started this thing, I thought it was going to be a true NIL, and you were going to need an agent. And you would go out there as Jalen Mbakwe, and you'd go to a company here that the University of Alabama is very important to, and you'd get them to give you $250,000 as some kind of benefit for you to do some marketing and advertising, name, image, and likeness for. But that's not what it is. Now it's salaries. I mean, the collectives must come up with the money to commit to you a salary. And if that's the salary, you need to, until you put something in place where they sign a contract at 18 years old. And I like your idea, Brett, even if it's just for 2 years. You know, if you come out of high school and the salary doesn't mean you can't cap out your NIL. Jalen Mbakwe should still be able to, if he had an All-American year as a freshman, to go out there and get another $1 million or $2 million through some type of agent setup that is true NIL, but not collective money. Because collective money is like if you and I went into our overhead budget, Luke, and decided that we were just going to add on a salary or continue to add on new employees. That's the problem I have with it, is the lack of a contract, the lack of any term that's set on that contract. But Brett's point this week is give it 2 years. You know, at 2-year point, either that school ponies up and decides that they want him bad enough to give him the money that his leverage points giving him out there on the free market, or go somewhere else. Go to Oregon. Go let Phil Knight buy him the team. We've all heard it. We know that it's Oregon that's stepping in here trying to get some of these guys. And another point you made, then I'll kick it to Luke, but another point you made this week, Brett, is what's keeping a multi-billionaire from saying, you know, I'm 86, 87 years old, and I'm going out there and I'm giving you unlimited resources, and I'm going to personally go buy the top 50 players in the country. And I'm going to make it to where you can't say no to this, which Luke just said Jalen Mbakwe somehow walked away from $1.8 million. Is that the number?
I didn't say it was Mbakwe, though.
Well, who is it?
Well, I mean,
come on. I mean,
it was somebody who didn't start. It was on the offensive side, but someone who didn't start all the time.
Because Mbakwe got offered a 7-figure deal, didn't he?
Mbakwe got offered big money too. Yes.
Okay, we'll keep going, Luke. Give us your thoughts on a contract or how you fix this.
I'm not sure what the answer is. I know that we can't get to the answer when we have zero leadership, and there is zero leadership from the NCAA and has been for years, and everybody is now capitalizing on it. And I say everybody, I mean the players essentially. The pendulum used to be in control of the schools and of the coaches, and now the pendulum is swung so far in the direction of the players that it's still out of whack, but it's not good in another direction. We have to do something about this, and we keep saying this, and nobody keeps doing anything, and the stories keep getting worse and worse and worse. And I'm just, again, we do all this stuff with college football, and we do podcasts, we do everything, and if it weren't for all that, I'm telling you, I'm not saying this is a threat because nobody'd care, but boy, it's really hard to love the thing like I used to love it.
Luke, let me say this. I said this to Randy this week. When you take the passion and the emotion away from something, you kill it. And all of us are very passionate and emotional about college. I don't have that near to the level I used to. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. After the Iron Bowl this year, and I talked to an Alabama player, a former Alabama player was at the game that was on the field, and he said he went by both tunnels before the game, and he said, you wouldn't have thought you were playing in an Iron Bowl. He said both teams looked disinterested. On the field, both teams looked disinterested outside of one fist fight that got over into the sideline. I was kind of glad to see it because it gave us something to yell about. I was like, well, at least maybe we'll turn this thing into a UFC and somebody will beat the hell out of the other one, because the play on the field was just terrible. I mean, I was not into the game. And the first time I remember in my life after the game was over, we were at somebody's house watching the game. We cut it off. We just moved on. There was no, sulling because your team lost or this, that, and the other. But that's where this has gotten. And before we go to break on TV, I want to say one more thing. You said Alabama's worth 1.8 whatever billion.
No. Less than $1 billion.
I'm just saying. Let me tell you who don't care about that is the fans that are having to be propped up and getting letters about you're going to raise your dadgum season ticket prices. Oh, and by the way, it costs this to go and this to go, and you got to park, and now you got to bring your kids. They don't give a crap what the franchise is worth. And
I'm 100% with you.
So, I mean, I'm tired of it, and everybody else out here is tired of it too. And so if they don't get somebody, and I don't know who is, I sound like an owl over here, I don't know who is going to step up and make a decision. It's not going to get fixed. And if they don't step in, it's going to kill the sport, man. It's going to kill it dead. Let's get to break. We keep this going on social media. Stay tuned. More to come here on the Saturday Sports Countdown.
The problem I see, and apparently this summer, the schools can begin to pay, out of their own coffers. Now, I don't know how all that works. I'm just telling you, I'll learn about this much to be dangerous about it. But I'm saying the schools will be able to pay something. But what does that fix?
Yeah, I don't think it fixes anything.
See, because still, if Oregon comes in and says, yeah, we'll give you, Auburn said they'll give you $50,000 every year that you're here, or $100,000 or $200,000 or whatever it is that you're here, we'll match that. Plus, Nike will sign you to a deal worth $1.6 million.
Let me ask this. Hold up. Let me jump in. How does the school pay in Title IX not end up being a total nightmare?
I think they're going to be able to pay everybody.
Well, but you're not going to pay the soccer players what you're going to pay Ryan Williams.
No, I don't. Randy, okay, now we have reached the limit of anything I know.
I don't know. But that's where the lawsuits pop in. That's where, now when you have some collective that's outside of the jurisdiction of the university, I get how they've got a gray area there. But Luke, when you start paying direct from the school,
I don't know.
And you pay one kid more than another.
I don't know. I don't know how you do
Brett,
this. I don't know how I do sort of see, honestly, we keep bashing the leadership and we should, but I also got to be like, if I were in charge of this and all this stuff hit me at one time, I'd throw my hands up too and be like, y'all just figure this out. I'm tired of dealing with this. You can't keep up.
And look, these other teams, man, we're Auburn and Alabama, so we got money and it is straining us. Can you imagine what's going on with Mississippi State and some of these other programs? Man, they got to make a decision. Randy, you said this years ago. This thing's getting to the point you got to make a decision what you want to focus on. You got to pick one sport and concentrate on it, because you can't keep spreading all this around. There ain't enough to spread, man. You trying to put peanut butter and jelly on a piece of loaf bread, and you got one of them little packets, and you trying to put it on everybody's loaf of bread. It ain't gonna work, man.
Well, we had someone message us this week on one of the podcasts talking about John Cohen and Butch Thompson trying to go out there and get the funds to renovate Plainsman Park, and he's the one that's having to do all of the bidding for the money that's coming in for that. I'm like, yeah.
Hey, look,
because Cohen's having to bid for everybody else too, and try to.
Greg Burns just did publicly what every AD is doing privately outside of probably Texas and SMU.
Well, Cohen sent a letter to the season ticket holders at Auburn, and it's got everybody stirred up. And look, what else are you going to do? And here's the deal: if you're not a marketing guru as an AD now, you're dead. If you can't go out here and sell and convince people to buy your product, you just being an overseer of an athletic department is a joke now.
Yeah, those days are long gone by.
So, we got about 15 seconds, guys. Yeah, I don't know. It is so broken, and it collapsed so fast this year. This has been monumental. All right, here we go. Welcome back, everyone, to the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. I knew where this talk was going to get to with us three this morning. And it's the same talk Randy and I have been on repeat all week on the Auburn Blitz podcast. And it's going to continue to suck us in and talk about this daggum portal and NIL stuff. And I said it earlier this week. I don't think the NIL is the problem. I think the portal's the problem, because that is what allows players to continuously go on the free agent market every 6 to 7 months in college athletics. This portal window's about to close. Well, you get through spring, it opens again. Now you got to do this all over again, and you got to get your team ready to play the season. And somebody leaves, now you got to fill this hole with just a limited amount of people that might be getting in the portal. This thing's a disaster.
You're punished for making the college football playoff too, because while everybody else is sitting there just, they're on the back channels calling I've heard several folks talk about how, Alabama, Auburn, other teams are out there trying to reach out to team players that are on CFP teams right now And how would you like to be a coach dealing with that? Like, you might not even know about all of it, but the parts you do know, you're like, hey, I'm trying to get these guys focused to win something. And so I don't want them taking a bunch of phone calls about, hey, they're making 1.2 here. So, but if they go there, they can make 1.5, it's just, but again, it's hard for us to blame just the players when the schools are taking all the advantage of it too. I mean, Auburn's got 14, 15 guys coming in through the portal. Alabama's got, probably, I don't know how many they got coming in the portal. It's not as many, but they might after a bit. But there are a lot of things. Ole Miss is just the portal king. That's how they've decided they're going to allocate their NIL money. They're just going to do less on the high school side and spend their big bucks on the portal. And I mean, I guess I'm just saying, I want to go back to something Justin Clayton said on here about, well, at least, yeah, there's some teams that don't deserve to play for a title, but at least nobody's undefeated gets left out. Look, I would rather have somebody undefeated left out, including Alabama, that we can talk about, that makes sense, rather than have to listen to people justify getting Indiana in there when they played Charlotte and Florida International and Hartsfield and BWI and Birmingham Airport over here, and they played France A&M. That, I don't want to have to justify these joke teams getting in anymore. I'd rather say, okay, yeah, Auburn and Utah, maybe they got not hosed, but they were left out. There were two teams, there were two spots, and yes, Auburn and Utah were left out, and that's unfortunate. And it sucks for an Auburn fan, sucks for a Utah fan, I get it. But I'm telling you, when we look at this and we go, man, everybody was telling us how awesome this was going to be. And the first game we get, Indiana can't do anything. That stinks for the college football playoff.
Randy?
Well, I agree. I thought the atmosphere last night, I thought the Friday night setup, especially outside of the high school football season, was fun. I thought the game day atmosphere that they created yesterday was really a unique concept. I hate that the game didn't match up with all of the hoopla around it, because I like the 12-team playoff if you put the best 12 teams in there. If last night Alabama is the 10 seed going to Notre Dame, I think Alabama beats their brakes. I mean, I think they beat their brains in up there. I believe.
Or Ole Miss or USC or South Carolina.
So if you get it right.
Or Miami.
If you get it right, then I love the 12-team playoff. But if you concede that a lot of these lesser than programs deserve to be in it, then you're not going to get matchups that are intriguing or that are deserving. And you can't convince me that any of these other conferences match up year in and year out with what the SEC is putting out there with new 18 teams. I mean, you lose two or three games in this conference right now.
Hey, what would be watched more, guys? Not to cut you off, Randy. A 8-team SEC playoff or 12-team SEC playoff or this? I mean, it's a no-brainer. I mean, I know what I'd watch.
And I think nationally, you need that national audience to go and sell to, and to really consider it a national championship. But I'm with you, Brett. I hear what you're saying.
I'm with Brett. And y'all know I love Justin Clayton like a cousin I never knew. But Indiana, he says Indiana was the lower seed. The Cinderella didn't make it through. FSU deserved at least a chance last year. First of all, if you think that FSU, the Alabama-Michigan game was great, Alabama lost, but the game was pretty good, two competitive teams. FSU showed us through the 2.5 games, they don't have a quarterback. You can't win without a quarterback. Then Justin says, well, Indiana's a Cinderella. See, Justin's a Cinderella guy. He loves the little guy. Well, that's great in college basketball when there's 68 teams. There are a few little guys out there. But when you have 12 teams, we don't have room for any little guys, man. We don't have room for Cinderellas. We got all good-looking women over here. Cinderella, who's over there sweeping up, God bless her, we need her. But we need the good-looking maximum cover models. That's what we need. And if we're only going to have 12 teams, if we want to do 68 teams, yeah, we got room for Cinderella and Rachel and Franny and Gretchen. We got room for all of them. But if we only have 12, we need the good-looking ones, please.
Yeah. I don't really have anything I can rebut on that.
And he says, should Georgia not be in without their QB? Again, Justin, pay attention for a second and listen to me. Georgia, their quarterback got knocked out in the SEC title game. and their backup quarterback led them to the win. He's the one that led them down there. He's the one that helped keep the thing going. Florida State put a backup quarterback in there, and if we didn't see that he had arms, we'd question if he had arms because they couldn't throw a forward pass. That's the difference. I think you have to take some of this stuff into context. You can't just put it on a blanket and say, well, FSU lost their quarterback and Georgia did, so neither one can be in. Georgia's backup quarterback was really pretty good. Gunnar Stockton's pretty good. FSU put somebody back there, and I can't remember who the hell he was. Can you?
No, I don't remember his name, about like I couldn't remember Charlie Baker. I do now because Randy and I have talked about Charlie Baker for about 2 days now, but had no clue who the guy was that led to NCAA till here recently. That tells you how bad that is.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody had said, have y'all heard what Charlie Baker said? I'd be like, was he work over at JR's or something? Who's Charlie Baker? I don't know who that is.
Well, we're going to Charlie Baker right to the next break, and then we want everybody to hang on. Got comments still coming in. Stay tuned. More of the Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
Somebody says, if Alabama would have been, your thoughts would be different. No, I said many times that if South Carolina were in, I'd be down with this. If Ole Miss were in, I'd be down with this. I think Alabama has a better argument than South Carolina.
Hey, I tell you what, why don't we just let the other conferences have an at-large bid and let 8 SEC teams get in and let Oregon and Ohio State and whoever else get in every year because that's who's going to go? That'd be a heck of a lot more fun to watch than this paint drying mess. And look, I'm not excited about really much of the games today. I mean, Ohio State and Tennessee, and I think they got that wrong. I think Tennessee should be hosting.
They should be hosting. Or, Brent, they should be hosting, or they should have gotten to play Indiana. Why does Notre Dame get to play Indiana?
I don't know. And then
everybody was fighting and clawing over themselves to say, I want to play Indiana. I want some of that Kirk Cignetti awesomeness.
He's the biggest goofball, dude. I'm sorry.
Listen, and I mean, again, here's the other thing, and I need to say this on the air part, that, you know, if Alabama gets in or if Ole Miss or South Carolina, the one thing that makes the game even more interesting, even if it turns into a 27-11 game like last night, is at least people will be like, this is why I hate the SEC. I mean, people be like, I just hate the SEC. I mean, because people love to hate the SEC. They would hate watch. They would enjoy watching the SEC getting their butt kicked. Nobody really enjoyed watching Indiana getting their butt kicked. We've seen that our whole lives.
I can't wait to see the ratings. This was just what we're used to. I can't wait to see the ratings on that game last night.
Well, I would like to see the ratings by minute. After that kid, I mean, the ratings probably like, doo, 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 doo. Then he goes 98 yards. Doo. I mean, that's what it should have been.
Yeah, it was, God almighty. It was so painful. It was terrible.
I can't believe Justin. I love Justin. I do. I love him. I really do. I can't believe he's going to hang on to this Cinderella thought. I mean, like, this was your first shot. Y'all were the first ones at the gate. And you just pooped right on our TV screen. I've been wiping poop off my screen all morning long.
Did you see Indiana's record against top 5 teams all time?
No, they must put that graphic on.
It's like 1-97. And they beat Purdue back in 1946. They were number 3 or something. It was such a horrible.
Greg McElroy and Sean McDonough, I mean, about midway through the third, they do like we do on some of those 3A girls semifinals games. They're like, what are you going to do this afternoon? I don't know. I'm going to get on that. Yeah, I know it's cold up in here. I've got some groceries just delivered over here. They
Sean McDonough got all his excitement out on that one run. He's gone.
I picture him doing that too. Like sucking his chest in and saying all that.
Oh, we got about 15 seconds. Indiana. They're not gonna ever get in again.
They might not get back to Bloomington. Doors will be locked.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. Glad that you joined us out there. Got the comments coming in. Toolman said, I'm with Jimmy Stein, pulling against anybody who played a soup can schedule. Ed said, Greg Sankey should not be getting a pass, the most powerful man in college football. He should have been at Ward Emanuel House telling him to pound sand. The SEC will not do this anymore. Justin's going to rebut there. Luke says, I was saying that in response to your Cinderella talk, how it's not fair that a Cinderella could go far in the basketball and other tourneys. This is a good thing the Cinderella didn't make it for. So
I know those words, but that sentence didn't make a lot of sense to me.
I'm trying to understand. I think you and Justin need to get on a call.
I mean, Justin and I can just Zoom.
Yeah, y'all are poor. Yeah, this conversation's carrying out across all airwaves this morning. Kelly said, "Take Notre Dame's name off the record. Their schedule not much better. They played one team in the top 25, and that was Army." Randy, I'll let you.
Well, they don't pass the eye test. Last night, watching Notre Dame play, there are some good pieces, but for the most part, they don't pass the eye test. And I'm going to keep beating this dead horse. Alabama, South Carolina, or Ole Miss would have been a much better matchup. And if I had to guess, if any of the three teams that I just mentioned went to South Bend last night, they'd won the football game. I think that there's better bows and Joes on any of those three teams. They just go through this gauntlet of a schedule. And I do want to tee Luke up now that we've got him on the program with us, though, Brett, because you and I have talked about Luke a good bit over the last couple of weeks and some of the comments that he's made. But I agree with him wholeheartedly that if you're going to change the reasoning for the committee to put you in or keep you out, and part of that doesn't have to do with your out-of-conference schedule, then give everybody a chance to go back and change their schedule. I mean, because if the rules change, you've got to give everybody a chance to play or abide by those rules. And I know, Brett, that you've said that that committee could make different decisions next year based off of whatever that committee decides they deem most important. That's a problem. We need to know right now what you think is the most important, because I don't want Auburn, who's not a very good football program right now, but we're hopeful that with the guys that we've got coming in, we're going to be. Do you think I want Auburn to take a brand new quarterback over to Baylor to start the season next year? No. I want to play the Sisters of the Poor, Luke. I like a couple of,
or whatever y'all played last year.
Whatever we can do to get a couple of games under our belt and then have to go on the road, my gosh, to Oklahoma and Texas A&M in 2 of the first 5 games. I mean, why wouldn't you want to go change that? And I know maybe you can't change that, Luke, but it feels to me that if you're going to change, I agree with you. Why can't you?
We did it during COVID.
On the fly.
Everybody told us all my whole adult and child life that we can't. These schedules are made years in advance and they're rock solid. You can't, unbreakable. And then COVID comes around, everybody goes, well, y'all just want to play a 10-team SEC schedule? And everybody goes, sure, why not? And, in that particular year, see, there wasn't much Alabama could do. Alabama played 10 of the toughest teams that were out there. We didn't get to play the least good teams that particular year. We got sort of short end of the stick, but everybody did because it was 10 SEC teams, right? And so what I'm saying is picture Indiana playing Auburn's or Alabama's schedule next year. Just picture that. Picture Indiana going to Baylor, and then picture Indiana playing at Oklahoma. And everybody loves to jank on Alabama for saying that you shouldn't have lost to Oklahoma. They're 73rd ranked. That would have been one of Indiana's crown achievements if they had just gone to Soonerland and not gotten blown out. That would have been the crown jewel in their helmet. So I'm just telling you, the schedule needs to matter. And I don't know why we're so fascinated with underdogs winning all this thing when, look, we don't have room for these kind of underdogs in here. Look, and when you get the 4 losses, look, I've always said, Justin, here's another thing that I said. I didn't want expansion because we're going to start fighting about teams with 3 and 4 losses. That's exactly what we're doing. The problem is I didn't know we'd be fighting about teams with 3 and 4 losses against teams with 1 loss because they played a 2A schedule. That's what I didn't know. And now that I see it, I go, oh, my God, we have too many teams.
I'm going to be honest about the schedule thing, and to make – again, I think we've all talked about it ad nauseum, and the point I was making, obviously, this last couple of weeks was, Alabama didn't lose a non-conference game. They lost 3 conference games, which if you were going to move forward with cupcake schedule stuff, it still wouldn't have helped them, right? So
this year,
but that's what I'm saying. In the present, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
All right, I'm for still playing tough teams look, again, nobody wanted to watch that last night once we got it. And I'll be honest with you, and Randy knows this more than anybody. I quit going to the Auburn Ball State games a long time ago. I can't go to those games anymore, man. And I know that may sound elitist, and it may sound like, well, you're not a true – no, it's not that at all. I literally fell asleep one time in my seat on the edge and almost fell out in the aisle because, the game was so disinterested. But we went because we had the tickets, and it was like, look, I looked at my wife. I said, I'm not coming back to this anymore. I'm like, I'm just not, because – I'll give my tickets away to somebody that can't go to the game normally or whatever. I don't want to watch that anymore. And now that all these teams have all this money and all these players getting paid all this money, I dang sure don't want to go watch them play, Morehead State or Mercer or anything like that anymore. I'm still all for going. I'm excited about Baylor. Like, would I be excited if Auburn were starting the season with Timbuktu? No, I wouldn't. I'd be like, well, that's a win. Whatever. I still, and I think it makes you better too. It at least gives you a barometer on who you are as a team.
I hear you 100%. I would rather do it the way that Alabama's doing it next year. They play Wisconsin and FSU. I'm here for it.
Right.
Let me go to Tallahassee and experience that. That'll be fun. But what the problem becomes is if the committee doesn't take any of that into account, then what is your reasoning for doing it? Because frankly, you're losing money. If you do a home and home, you're losing money.
Well, I think we just discovered the problem, guys. The committee is the problem. They're the ones that you get 12 random people in a room. The next year, the next 12 may have a different set of standards and mindset. I don't know what they're thinking.
Look, Brett, to me, it really is. I hate to put it this way, but it's the way things were going politically too. Everybody's got to have a chance. In the military, we got to let everybody, no matter what they do, what they believe, what they dress like, what they act like, we got to let everybody. And then, we look in our military and we see some of the folks in leadership, and I won't go where I want to go with this thing just because I'm not trying to offend anybody.
Everybody's going there, Luke.
You know where I'm going.
There.
Just go ahead.
And guess what? Now Indiana's the one in the playoffs wearing a skirt. And we're like, hey, we need you playing good football. We want this to be good. We all understand blowouts are going to happen. Blowouts have happened in the BCS. Blowouts have happened in everything. We can't control all that. But what I saw last night was such a difference between two teams. And the irony is Notre Dame didn't look that good either, but they looked a world better than Indiana. And so what I'm saying is, now in my head, I'm thinking if Indiana had to play Mississippi State schedule, let's just say that, Indiana wouldn't go to a bowl game. I wholeheartedly believe that. And I'm tired of the bleeding hearts telling me everybody deserves a chance when not everybody's fighting the same war.
I totally agree with you. And Brett, just to rebuttal what you're saying, because yes, I would love, I'm way happier to watch Auburn play Baylor than Alabama A&M to start the season like we had this year. I'm all for that. But what's the goal? As an Auburn fan, my goal going into every season is to make a playoff. We haven't made one yet. So can we just get in a playoff? And if getting in a playoff is harder by going on the road to play a team that there's a 50-50 chance that you're going to lose the opening game of the season out of conference, and it keeps Auburn from making the playoff at the end of the year, if they have 2 or 3 losses and they lost one of those out of conference, then I don't want to do it, because again, my goal is to make the playoff, not to watch a competitive game to start the season. It's to be in this thing where Auburn can be talked about with these other 12 teams. And we haven't had that chance.
But then, I'm going to say, I agree with 100% with what y'all are saying. I do. And, I know we got to get to our break, but, my point is that if you have to schedule a bunch of soup cans and then hope you get through your conference schedule, did you deserve to be in a playoff anyway. It's kind of what Luke's been saying.
I think you do. You do.
I'm just saying I don't in the big scheme of things, because I'm saying that I think the system's broken. All right, we got to get to a break. We come back. We'll just keep talking about this too on social. Stay tuned. More to come right after this.
I got to go after this one. Sheila's got to spend the night. I mean, they've demanded I take him to Starbucks and Chick-fil-A because I live in Mountain Brook now.
Oh, there you go.
That's what we all have to do.
Hey, let me say this, guys. I mean, what I'm saying to this is, I'm agreeing 1,000% what y'all are saying. I'm thinking that we're trying to take the easiest route to get to a playoff, and so okay, you made the playoff like Indiana. What in the hell have you accomplished? You ain't accomplished nothing.
But we're in the SEC, Brett.
I know that, Randy. I'm saying the picture overall, the whole thing's broken.
I'm talking about us two, though. Us two. The argument. I've had this argument for the last decade with you and others. Is Auburn doesn't need to prove anything out of conference. If you want to say we're the 15th hardest schedule in the country or the 20th hardest, I could care less. But if Auburn's got to play Alabama and Georgia every year and LSU, and we get through that without losing all three of them, and we get a chance to play in something, then we've proven enough to me compared to an Indiana,
I agree
Purdue,
with you.
and
I agree with you.
So it's not apples to apples when you compare the two teams we're discussing right here to Purdue or Indiana or anybody else.
I'm just saying I'm giving an argument.
Tough enough schedule already.
Yeah, I'm giving a plus argument for what y'all are saying, that the strength of schedule should matter. Is what I'm saying.
But it doesn't.
I'm saying it should. I know it doesn't right now based on what this committee just said, but I'm saying it should moving forward.
Okay, well, here's my argument with – and
the SEC schedule should be tough enough.
They should tell us what's important. And if what's important doesn't match up with the way that you've scheduled your game so far, then give us a chance to change it.
Or how about this? Look, and this will never happen because we have too many teams to make all this happen. But it would be good if there were some parity in scheduling. There's some, Big Ten people say, well, y'all only play 8 conference schedules. I tell you what, I would rather play a 9-team Big Ten conference schedule than an 18 SEC conference schedule. Ain't no doubt in my mind I'd rather do that. So don't give me that, number one. And number two, that's what I was saying. That was my whole point about after the committee was talking about, we got to put SMU in. Okay. And again, I'm not fighting for Alabama. If you want to put Ole Miss, Miami, BYU, South Carolina, whatever, the message needed to be sent. You got to try. Indiana, you're not even trying. You played Charlotte, Florida International, and 2 teams I've never heard of. You're not trying. And it's not your fault, the conference schedule, but you got to try. And they should have been punished. SMU at least played BYU. I give them some credit for that.
No doubt about it. All right, we got about 15 seconds. Yeah, I think all the way around, I think we're all agreeing. We're just coming at it at different angles.
Well, it's very different. We have too many teams.
Well, we got about 5 seconds. We'll bring it in. Welcome back, everyone, to the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. Last segment here in hour number 1. I think what Randy's saying, and I've said on the last 3 weeks, is that the SEC, and I said this earlier, the SEC shouldn't have to do what other conferences do because our conference schedule is way harder than other conferences' schedule. So maybe they have to go out and get other teams to play them. But Randy makes the point of, if like for Auburn, you got to play Alabama and Georgia built in as your natural rivals. Well, they're normally 1 or 2 almost every year, or at least in the top 5. Well, who else is playing 2 top 5 teams in the same year every single year? Nobody. So Randy's right. We don't have to go out and prove. We don't have to go to Texas and play Baylor to prove that we got some kind of team that deserves to be in the playoffs. Now, Indiana, now that they've seen this and the committee goes, if the committee said we're not ever going to do this again, they may go, okay, we got a bunch of soup cans on our conference schedule. We better go out and get 3 teams outside and play them and win a couple of those to prove that we deserve to be in. Randy, I'll let you go first.
Well, I'm going to kick it quickly to Luke because we got his last segment right here. Appreciate Luke being on with us, but I'm going to keep beating this dead horse. And unless we're told what the committee expects and what's important to the committee, then how do we make decisions based off of whatever our goal is? Because I'm going to keep saying Auburn's goal for me as a fan is to get into the playoffs. So anything that makes that harder to happen, I want out of it. And it may sound like I'm trying to get out of games that are playing lesser than.
No, you're just playing the game. You're just playing.
I'm just saying. Tell me what the goal is.
That's everybody's goal now. And what they did, and again, because we expanded the playoffs, that is everybody's goal now. And everybody thought we just expand the playoffs and everything just rides along hunky dory. Again, people like me were saying, okay, you're going to devalue conference championships. Well, we're not going to do that because we're going to give them buys. We've seen year one how dumb that is. It is just so unfathomably dumb to let Boise State and Arizona State have buys that you can't defend it. It's dumb. We know it's dumb. So we got to fix that. So, and I'm fine with knocking the kinks out. I'm also fine with the College Football Playoff Committee acting like a living, breathing thing, kind of like the U.S. Constitution, where it's laid out, but there's some tiny room to understand nuance and how things change. Okay, I'm fine with that. But and I'm happy if it works out for Alabama, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Miami to be the guinea pigs this year and go, okay, we kind of screwed up. We should not have rewarded people for not playing anybody. We will change that in the years going forward. It sucks for me right now, just like it sucked for Auburn in Utah when they got left out in 2004, but it led to better change. It led to, okay, we're going to do a 4-team thing, right? So it led to some change. So this time maybe we're the guinea pig. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But make sure that you fix this. Don't do this again. Don't do it. If you see a team has not beaten a top 25 opponent all year long, and the one team they played with a pulse beat their brains in, don't reward them. Show them that next year you got to do better. That's the basketball committee usually does that. I know Alabama's been left out because they say your schedule stunk. Well, we won 22 games. Yeah, but your schedule stunk. You beat 20 of those teams had 4 players, and 2 of them were missing toes. So, yeah, you beat them, but they stunk. And so next year, guess what Alabama did? They upgraded their schedule. They got in. And with a lesser record, by the way. So that's where I think I can live with this. If don't tell me you're going to put Purdue in next year if they have this same run and they have this same batch of terrible wins. Just don't do that. Indiana got the breaks. Go for it. SMU got the breaks. Go for it. It doesn't need to happen anymore. We got to fix that.
Now, I think what we've all summed up here is that we all believe strength of schedule should matter. But if the committee doesn't think it should, then we should just go the easiest route possible. That's the summation of all of it.
Yes.
And so, again, it all lies in what the committee decides to or to not do. And they get in a room and they somehow figure out what they think is best for everybody, and it ends up being this. And so maybe there should be a disclaimer. Maybe there should be a set of standards. It shows what the committee's going to look at in rank order of importance of you getting in the playoffs. And if you had that set of guidelines to go by, I don't think anybody could complain.
2 more things, Brett. Number one, they've talked about bringing computers back in or whatever. I'd sort of be okay with this. And I mean, I know it's a lot of trial and error, but the other thing is when we expanded the playoffs, and again, I was saying this, a lot of people said I was crazy. I said we're going to devalue rivalries and we're going to devalue conference championships. And I think it's very clear. Alabama-Georgia was one of the best games you'll ever watch, right? And Georgia fans keep saying, ha, y'all are home for the playoffs. And Alabama fans say, we beat y'all. And Georgia's like, we don't care. And I'm on Georgia's side on that. I would much rather lose to my arch rival, get in the playoffs and go nana boo boo, than beat my arch rival and sit my butt at home. You know what I mean? And I just feel like that's something that's we got to figure out a way to make this thing better, because we're, like you said, Brett, if you lose nothing has the passion of college football. Nothing. No sport on earth outside of soccer in Brazil. And we are going to screw it up because we have to make sure Indiana gets a shot.
It is well on its way, guys. I'm going to tell you this before we go to our top of the hour break and let you get out, Luke, is that it dropped precipitously this year. I mean, from the beginning of the football season to where we are right now, when you look at August to December, the amount of disinterest from rabid fans is eye-opening to me. I've talked to some rabid fans that go, man, it don't mean anything anymore to me. I mean, it has sucked the passion out of these fans, and all this talk of money all the time just wears you down. And you're like, man, this is nothing but a begging from grown men.
It's true.
It's all it is. And you don't even talk about the games anymore. You just talk about how much money you're going to raise.
I'll leave y'all with something to talk about after I'm gone. I wonder if the committee just said, hey, we're not going to do this week by week thing anymore, because everybody wanted that for transparency, right? But I think when you start ranking somebody in the middle of the week and you put Indiana in there, all of a sudden you're like, well, we can't move Indiana out now because we've already had them at number 7 or number 6 or number 8 or whatever it was. And they tried to punish them by putting them at 10. That wasn't enough. And I think maybe the committee just comes out and goes, look, we ain't telling y'all nothing. We're going to meet and we're going to do our thing, but we ain't telling y'all any rankings until the final rankings come out. Because I think if they had done that, I think it'd be easier to say, we're not putting SMU or Indiana in. They'd say, we looked at their schedule and they have played nobody. They played Guam, Guam Tech, and Guam A&M 3 times each. And then they played Ohio State and got their brains beat in. So we can't put them in. I think that'd be easier. The rankings do create some bias.
Always have. So that's an interesting perspective. All right, we're going into the top of the hour break. We'll let Luke slide out. Luke, have a good rest of your weekend, and we'll be back for the second hour right after this.
All right, guys. See y'all later. Justin Clayton said the ranking show has too many viewers, and that's absolutely right. Just like the conference championship has too many viewers and makes too much money. They ain't getting rid of it either, even though it's stupid now.
Well, everything is driven by what?
Hey, guess what else is stupid? The SEC basketball tournament. We all love it. It makes no sense. Right. If Auburn is the number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament going into it, why on earth would they play a game where Janai Broome could dislocate his shoulder again? Why would you do that? It makes no sense.
They've devalued it for sure.
So, and
it's got to be what things have to have a merit. They have to have some type of substance for it to matter. And when you take that out, like the SEC championship game, like, is anybody talking about that game right now? Texas and Georgia still got in, didn't they?
Yeah.
So that game was like
Texas still got in, yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, but they're both still in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
If Georgia would have lost, they'd still have gotten in.
Yeah.
The bottom line is who cares? I mean, that is not must-watch TV anymore, man.
All these corporations are ruining everything. Now, if y'all excuse me, I'm going to Chick-fil-A and Starbucks.
All right. Bye, Luke. Thank you, buddy.
Man, it's sad, man.
All state teams came out, Brett. I haven't looked at them.
I hadn't either.
To see if we had anybody get on there.
Need to pull it up. Thinks that Arian made it?
He had to.
Surely.
I mean, his numbers were too good not to.
Right. Think Caleb may have made it? I don't know.
He could have. His numbers were okay.
Yeah.
I mean, just from buzz around him, he may have.
I think so, yeah.
That's the thing about.
That's what part of that is.
It's
popularity.
It used to be a lot more than it is now. At least now you can go and find some stats. Back when you and I came through school,
it was just names.
Unless you were a name that was known out there, or you are a part of a school that actually sent some damn stats in, then
right.
Trust me, I'm the guy posting for the most part around those stats that are sent in. And if 30% or 25% of the schools out there actually send a stat in, that's a high number. Because I report on
how do these high schools not have somebody dedicated to push their stats?
Well, out? you'll sometimes you'll have a conversation. I've had some conversations out there that make my brain almost explode. That they're like, well, I really don't want anybody to know much about us. I'm like, hold up now. Like, okay, let's just say you don't want anybody to know much about you in basketball. How long do you think that's going to matter? If you were to match up with somebody else, do you think that matters for like 30 seconds?
No.
Once the game starts?
No.
I don't get that one at all. That argument makes no sense to me. But what happens is you don't know anything about anybody.
Right. We got about 15 seconds.
Okay. But it keeps your kids from getting in the spotlight, getting eyes on.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't do this,
it hurts.
I don't make any posts on you because I don't know anything about you.
Right.
You may be averaging 24 points a game. I wouldn't know it.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. Hour number 2 here of the program. We've had a lot of great comments, had a lot of great banner back and forth here in the first hour that it completely got consumed, by the way, by the daggone portal and this playoff talk and how bad the college football playoff game was last night. As we start hour number 2, I know we got some more people joining us that probably didn't watch us in the 7 o'clock hour. So I just feel like I'm going to repeat, Randy, every time we come on the air, and we're on the air every single day with our podcast. And these are the topics that we're talking about. And, you know, podcasts all the way over, all the way around this country are talking about the same thing. And as Luke exited just a minute ago, and you and I will talk about this in the second hour, and we talked about it in the podcast this week, man, that the passion is rapidly leaving college football fans right now because of the way this thing is done. And if they don't reel this thing in, man, if they don't, fans are going to stop showing up. That's when the rubber's going to hit the road. When Greg Byrne and John Cohen issue decrees like they did this week, we got to have more money from y'all, not our boosters, but from y'all. The average fan that brings their family to the game and is already spending bukus of money. Now I'm asking for more because we got to pay our players and we got to put a tax on our tickets so that players can get that money. Randy, you and I, and we're not going to drop names, and because we talk to a lot of people about different players, but we know a couple of players what they were making, what they're making a month, man. Man, are you kidding me? And that's just one guy on the roster. I'm like, and I'm proud for whoever that gets the money. I mean, I'm not bitter toward them. I am bitter that, man, what we do every day, and we get out here and bust our rear end and have businesses, and we don't even sniff that kind of income in a month. And they're just handing it to them. And here's the deal. You're saying, well, they're getting it in return for their services. Well, they're also getting a scholarship and also getting an opportunity to go to college and get an education, which we've diminished completely. Like it doesn't even matter anymore because we don't even talk about it. But what are these kids going to do when their 3 or 4 year run in college is up? I hope they saved that money and invested it because most of them aren't going to make the NFL. So if they're blowing through that kind of money and they get to the end of that little run, who's out there giving them advice on what to do? What kind of career are they going into at that point?
All of those things I agree with you, but it's not where my money goes. That doesn't bother me. What really bothers me is you don't have any kind of contract set up to make them adhere to any specific rules. And I said it in the first segment of the first hour. You know, the way that I saw this NIL working out is not what's happened. You know, now there's this gray area collective out there that's outside of the view of the college system, and they've got this little collective over there, and they pay salaries to players. They don't go and create name, image, and likeness. We need to get rid of that.
Because it's deceptive. It's not what it is.
That's a joke. That is not what it is at all. But if you're going to pay them a salary, then they need to sign a contract. Well, I know legally signing a contract may be the issue that they have right here. They may not think they can go and win that. Well, if they can't, man, all of us that sit here as talking heads and talk about this, until someone is a true leader and speaks for the whole, which is the Power Four, speaks for the whole and tries to make some changes where there is at least not every time you turn around a Diego Pavia decisions not being made that's going to extend this thing out 7, 8, 9, 10 years. I mean, hell, if you're going to let JUCO players play 2 years and then come in and maybe play 4 years, but also have a red shirt built into those 4 years. I mean, you're going to get kids that are
7 years,
25, 26, 27-year-old seniors in college. Is that what you want? I mean, like how many degrees do you want to get? Because if you are going to school and you're 25, 26, 27 years
and
old,
you have to be enrolled, what are you taking?
You should be you should demand that they have their doctorate by the end of that. If you're going to let them be in that much, I mean, really. And we do have kids that really are taking advantage of this.
Grad school, sure.
Going grad school and getting their masters. And, I've watched this past week. I mean, Bruce Pearl, one, is the best coach Auburn's ever had in any sport. And there's no complaining or no argument that I feel can be had with that. But I watched the way his guys are graduated. And, man, I really appreciate it. And I see posts going out there, when they end up on a Saturday morning game in Atlanta, and then
they come back for graduation.
They come back for graduation that afternoon, and then I see Bruce on press conference saying we've got 2 more that are graduating in the spring. Man, I applaud that, but do you hear that anymore?
Don't hear a word about it, and that's the problem, Randy. I mean, we've diminished and the things that used to be important that we used to hold high, as standards of success in society. It still should be a priority for people to move forward and get an education. It may not look the same. You may not go to a 4-year college, but a 2-year degree, in a trade or something. But you going and getting a credential and saying, I'm qualified to be in this field, and I did this, and I went through this to get qualified. Ain't nobody hiring me and you to come weld their trailer, Randy. I ain't calling us this morning going, hey, man, I got a busted trailer over here. I need y'all to come over here and weld it. We'll go over and weld it. It ain't going to work out too well, okay? But you have to go through a credential to get trained to do that. Well, we've diminished all that now because everything is about money. We're getting the cart before the horse. And, yeah, the end goal is to have a great career and have a great lifestyle where you can go buy the things and provide for a family. But now that you're just throwing tons of money at a kid with no regulations or no boundaries has put this thing in a really precarious situation.
And somebody's got to speak up.
We've devalued what we've always said was important, Randy. We've devalued all that like it doesn't mean anything anymore.
And I brought this up in the first hour, and maybe we'll go to a different topic, Brett, because me and you have beat this dead horse all week. But how does Title IX fit into this?
Nobody's even talking about it, man.
And me with a daughter, let me sound like the lib here. Me with a daughter, I'm very interested to hear where Title IX fits into this. Because at a certain point, when you change all of the verbiage that's being put into these contracts and how they're able to use this funding within the university, there are going to be sports that go away. Now,
absolutely.
You and I have a mutual friend. I won't say the name, but we got a mutual friend, got a daughter playing in South Alabama right now, just signed a full ride to Southern Miss University to play soccer. And I'm so applauding that. I'm so proud for him and his family. He was a tremendous athlete too. Had all of his schooling paid for. I don't know if every bit of it was, but he played sports all the way through school. Real proud for him. You and I have kids that are interested in sports, and we know other friends of ours that have kids, and they're not all boys. They're girls. So I'm wholeheartedly feel like I'm a leftist lib trying to defend women's athletics sitting up here.
But they're not defending it anymore.
Nobody's how have we gotten to the point where common sense is not even being discussed anymore with this current setup?
Well, it's just all clouded because of money, and they've paid. It's like you're not paying attention to any rules or any type of laws anymore. It's just about in the here and now and what kind of deal.
Opportunities are going to go away.
Yeah, let me get the TV break. Let's go ahead and take that break, Russ, and then we'll come back with more here on the Saturday Sports Countdown. Opportunities are absolutely going to go away, and like Michael said, I'm going to get some of these comments here while we're on the stream only. Do players have to pay taxes on these current deals? I don't know what they're paying, man. I don't know how.
I think so. How they're not.
I mean, I don't know, man. John.
I mean, this is not first off. You pay taxes unless it's a nonprofit,
right?
I mean, there's no nonprofit designation here. I don't know how the hell they don't get a W-2. How would you not get a W-2?
You have to be. Wasn't that one of the big things that they were talking about at the beginning? Is how they were going to set up tax structure and discuss it with players because they've never been involved with this, and how they better not go out and spend all that money because they got to pay taxes on it. All right. John said this was a post from a few days ago after listening to another sports podcast. How dare you, John? I listened to another sports podcast. I listened to a sports writer on a sports talk show regarding NIL. He spoke to a non-starter being offered $800K to go to another same conference school. He declined, offer doubled, still declined. School bumped the offer another $250. He spoke about another player that went to Notre Dame via the portal, via, I guess, Alabama, and is being paid $60K a month. There you have it, folks. Is this what is desired in college football? I mean, Justin Cowart said Rob Pate says this year AU athletic program paid for players' shoulder surgery. They then discovered he had sight problems and paid for that surgery, and he bolted. AU stuck with Bill. See you.
See, it's the reason you need the contract. Yep. You know, somebody, I mean, if you're going to dole out this type of money on a player, and if you come and ask me, I'm not one that is like Jimmy Rain that they come to and ask for several $1 million a year. But man, I mean, when will Jimmy Rain and the others that give, the Tim Cooks of the world, say, look, I have no problem giving you millions of dollars towards your athletic department each and every year because I love it. But I tell you what, if you give $1 million of that to somebody that 6 months later goes out the side door and goes and plays for Alabama, then I'm going to have that. That's where the issue would come in, bro.
That's a bad. Oh, there is absolutely no question.
And it has to be going on.
Man, look, I don't know what happened with Aiden Holloway, but he didn't come to Auburn for free.
True.
And now he's up there. Now he's at Alabama missing threes.
I think he was the top NIL guy on Auburn's roster last year.
I think he was.
That's what I was told.
So then, how did that work out? I mean, did he just bolt after what he got from Auburn?
Tony, the problem though is I heard that Georgia's graduation rate for the football team,
which is embarrassing. By the way,
that is. I agree with you, but nobody talks about it.
That's the problem.
Nobody cares.
It's sad, man. Like we have literally lost the standards. And again, when these kids get out of school and they have and that money runs out and they don't have a plan. Oh, here we go. Welcome back, everyone, to the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. We got about 45 minutes left on the show today. Got a bunch of good comments coming in. The problem, Randy, again, we talked this thing to death. We're not going to have a solution to this, but why is it so hard for a committee to say these are the rules and say, because we all act like this is unfixable. Power 4, form a committee, say we're not doing but one portal window. You can go in and you can get your NIL money from other places like it was designed. The university can pay you whatever they want to pay you, and they feel like you're worth up front. And then after 2 years, you can reevaluate. You can get in the portal one time, or you can stay at your school and finish out your education. But we got to start going back to building and putting these standards in place. When was the last time you heard anybody was academically ineligible? Has anybody been talking about that? How much of our programs in the last 15 years were consumed by players at Auburn and Alabama? We were concerned maybe not getting in and maybe not being on the roster because they didn't have the grades. That's not even
route to begin with.
Not even talked about anymore. Not even. It's like the chains. I said that the other day. It's like the chains in football. Nobody measures for first downs anymore. So why are they even over there? I mean, you just look over there and at the sideline and see that, oh, it's first down. Let's move on. I don't see this sport. This sport, you're supposed to advance in life. Things are supposed to get better with time. and you're supposed to learn from mistakes, and you're supposed to correct those mistakes and make the sport or make the business or whatever better. This is not the direction college athletics are going. This thing is completely upside down right now. And I'm not just talking about college football. I'm talking about what you were just saying with women's athletics, with Title IX and how all this plays out. Do we just not care anymore? Does that not matter anymore?
It's the wildest thing in the world to me, how that's not discussed anymore. It really is. It's the thing that you and I probably discuss the least. But at the end of the day, they are the ones that's going to be losing a lot of opportunities based off of the decisions that are currently being made. And I don't see that changing. It's not the money grab that they want. I mean, these universities hopefully are into educating our kids that go there, Brett. And I know that they do in a lot of regards, but for the most part, it's a money grab too. And build more buildings and spend more money and raise tuition. And
this is too capitalist up here, Randy. I want to make this clear. I mean, we want it, but look, I've said this, and you know I've said this because I've been the one kind of off to the side trying to figure out a way to argue with you guys on this thing. I want people to make as much as they're worth too, but you cannot go through life without rules and regulations and laws. We have to have laws in society to hold people accountable. If not, you just got people running around doing whatever. And look, and you're only as authoritative as what people give you the power. All right, the people make the laws in the country, and the government enforces the laws, right? Isn't that how it works? All right, the NCAA, I'm not trying to defend the NCAA here because they've kind of made their own bed, but the NCAA has been rendered powerless through the court system. Every time they've tried to hold somebody accountable, the court system cut their legs out from under them. So now they're sitting here because James called yesterday on our Auburn Blitz show and couldn't have said it any better. And we've bashed Charlie Baker, but what can Charlie Baker really do, man? Now, I don't think he's a strong leader, period. You don't either. But he really doesn't have any power anymore because the court systems have ruled every time they try to make some kind of decision, they go against
him. And his board saying, we don't need you to go up there and be a strong leader and make decisions like that. Kennedy's response to him on transgender athletes and biological males playing against biological females and the NCAA not stepping up and saying that, no, we're not going to let that happen. Y'all do whatever you want, but we're not going to let that one happen. He can't do that. So the feel that you get is that he's just going directly with what's not going to hurt him in the courts. You're exactly right.
Kennedy said it yesterday, and if people watched it, they heard me, and we laughed till we cried yesterday, but it's the truth. Maybe some people watching. I mean, when the defund the police thing came about in this country, and everybody goes, that's the dumbest crap I've ever heard of in my life. But people were fighting it, and police were getting a bad name. And look, I know one bad apple ruins the bunch. I get it. It can hurt an organization.
We're not arguing that.
No, there's not. But most policemen are out there doing the right thing, trying to protect society. So John Kennedy and his political ad, he was just as blunt as he could be. Looked in the camera and said, "Well, all right, if you don't like cops because they're cops, next time you're in trouble, call a crackhead. See how much help you get out of them." I mean, it's the truth. It's what you want to say about this NCAA thing and how screwed up it is. It's like, let's all take a step back and look at some common sense. Just got a text, and they said, buddy of mine said, need Tuberville and Saban to get together and lead on our recommendations on the portal because it makes perfect sense. I mean, I wish look, we're nobodies in the scheme of making rules for college football, but I really wish they would listen to what we've been saying this week on our shows.
Well, I think those two know. And I've watched both of them talk about it. They don't need mine and your recommendations on this. They've got recommendations they can give. What I agree with the comment that you had on the text, Brett, is you've got to get somebody. I don't care if it's not one of those two, but somebody with a backbone. and the NCAA and the Power Four has got to give them the power to go and speak for the rest of us. And it would help if you were ingrained in it, understood it from the inside. The reason I keep going with Nick Saban. Auburn fans may not like Nick Saban to be in that leadership role, but I think it's going to take someone that is strong enough to go and fight the fight. And right now, Charlie Baker's not it, and anybody else they put in front for the NCAA definitely hasn't been that. And unless these schools are happy with the direction that it's going in, then stay down this path. But if they're not happy, they better go find a leader, and they better pay him a Google of money, because that's what it's worth to all of us and everyone that's involved in this thing. If they don't get it corrected, a lot of it's going to go away. And it may not be Auburn and Alabama going away, but there'll be side sports that'll go away. The current setup won't be the way that it is. It can't sustain itself the way that it is. And I want to see it the way that it is. I want female opportunities to have chances when I'm raising my 8 or 9 year old daughter and she happens to love a sport. And I'd love for her to have the opportunity to go get her schooling paid for based off of the talent that she has. Who wouldn't? Now, if she doesn't want to do that, so be it. I'm not saying that that's the end all be all of the reason that you do sports at a youth age or even up into the high school ranks. But it sure is nice to know that that opportunity is sitting out there, isn't it, Brett?
Of course it is.
Well, it's going to go away. It just depends on when it goes away. But the current setup's not sustainable the way that it is right now.
No, absolutely not. We've all been saying that for over a year, and we knew this day was coming. It's here now. All right, up against our next break. Stay tuned. More to come here on the Saturday Sports Countdown. Yep, Justin said NIL and top women's basketball is up there. Well, in all the top levels of every sport, it's going to be, but all of us have to make a decision. We can't all give top NIL. That's the sad thing, because we think Coach Harris is doing a good job at Auburn. But is that where does Auburn women's basketball rank in the hierarchy of Auburn sports right now? It's down the list. I can tell you, it's always going to be football, and then it's going to be basketball, and then from there it'll probably be baseball, and then from there on it's I don't know where women's basketball falls. Would they be 4th on the list, 5th, 6th?
I'd probably put them behind women's softball.
Oh, there you go. So I mean, now we're down to 5. All right, so you tell me. I mean, how much money's out there? Again, I'll look out my window. I don't see any hundreds on my money tree out here. I'm still waiting. But
Brett, hit specifics on portal guys that we've gotten in. Let's talk quarterbacks. Let's talk Alabama Mississippi game this past weekend. Who else is left that we're trying to get by the 28th? Is there specific ones? I know Singleton, but are there others?
There's some out there, but I mean it's kind of whittling on down. I mean
you get close to the end of this.
You hadn't made, let's talk about the Auburn basketball game, and let's talk about these these 3 playoff games too. So I mean, from a portal standpoint, I mean, Auburn's gotten, we ain't talked about the coaching change and stuff. Yeah. I mean,
let's hit a few more other than we have beat this sucker to death.
It is the thing that drives all of our conversations, though, because it's the it is the 800-pound gorilla in the corner of the room.
But it's just so many people like us, and I'm just as opinionated as the next person. But at the end of the day, if they don't go hire a leader to go and fight that battle for them, we're just talking into the wind. It doesn't matter. It's not going to get fixed.
Has no relevancy at all.
No, I mean, somebody's got to know, and it's got to be somebody with backbone. Yes, some kahunas, John.
There's no doubt about it. Let's see, 3:20. So we got about 40 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Justice says our golf team should start to get up there. I mean, he's right. Just won a national title in it. You can't win national titles.
Somebody's throwing money at that.
They are.
We're recruiting.
Right.
Yeah, there's some boosters out there that see the value of that, or we wouldn't be getting the guys we get.
Right. All right, here we go, 10 seconds. Welcome back, everyone, to the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. Let me just do a little plug for JR's real quick. They catered our little get-together last night, and chicken fingers and wings. And everybody always says it doesn't matter where they go. They go, man, JR's chicken fingers and wings are just phenomenal. And they are. I mean, they've been phenomenal for 25-plus years for all your catering needs. And if you just want to go hang out at a place and hang out with your friends or your family and get great food, go to JR Sports Bar and Grill here in downtown Alexander City. We'll shift over and talk about here in the last 30 minutes several things. Randy, we talked about the playoff game last night. I know we want to talk about some portal things here on Auburn, maybe some updates. I know we got the commitment from Connor Gibbs, the kicker from Southern Miss, which was huge by a lot of people's mind because we've struggled this year. Alex McPherson, with his sickness, maybe being out could have possibly be looked at as something that cost us a couple games this year. Poor kicking game, I think, could easily be looked at Missouri and Oklahoma as causes for why those games went the way they did. So we'll keep you updated on that throughout the week coming up on our Auburn Blitz podcast. That's where we really get into the weeds on some of this stuff. We got a lot of other things to talk about this morning. But if you got a particular question about anybody that's in the portal or how somebody's doing, just send it to us on social media and we'll get to it. Randy, the playoff games today start at 11, SMU at Penn State, and then at 3 o'clock you got Clemson in Texas, and then you have Tennessee and Ohio State, which is the nightcap, which is the one I'm the most interested in of the games. Obviously, I'll be interested at 3:30 on what's going on in Birmingham with Auburn and Purdue, and we'll start there, and then we'll come back to the college football playoff games. But this Auburn-Purdue game looks like Janai Broome is going to play now in this game, and so it's going to be no damage from this week. They obviously feel comfortable with him getting in this game and playing.
Well, we've proven that we've got the depth that even if he does need to step away or not get quite as many minutes as we've seen so far, that I think Chaney Johnson, the way that he's playing this year, really has put himself up there in conversation for all SEC teams, Brett. And what a change that is. I mean, what's he averaging? 12, 13 points a game, 7 or 8 rebounds per game. If he got as many opportunities to score the basketball as, say, Janai, I'm not saying he's Janai, but I'm saying he's not far from him. And that's one of the top storylines, of course, for Auburn athletics this year, but it's got to be one of the top storylines in SEC basketball as a whole. 26 points, 8 rebounds the other night, only missed a couple of shots in the basketball game. A high flyer, and you can't put a mic in front of Bruce Pearl without him saying something really, really solid about the effort that Chaney Johnson gives him night in, night out, and just the way that he carries himself emotionally out there, Brett, I think is a big, big storyline this year. So glad to see Janai back, but also want to make sure that we keep plugging away on some of these other players that Auburn has, because I think we just keep getting better.
Yeah, I agree with you. As Luke's already made his run to Starbucks and Chick-fil-A and gotten back to finish out the show.
I have to tell you a story. So this is the most Mountain Brook thing that's happened to me to date. So my daughter's got a friend of hers who's 8, 9 years old, spend the night with her. And they've been begging me, go to Starbucks. I said, well, I got to do this other thing. Starbucks and Chick-fil-A, Starbucks, Chick-fil-A. Okay, so we go. We almost get to Starbucks. We're about to pull up into the drive-through line. And her friend goes, I said, well, what does everybody want from Starbucks? Her friend goes, I'm going to have a strawberry acai with no inclusions and a chocolate croissant. And I said, you're going to have to go inside, and because I don't know what that stuff means. And I said, I took 4 years of French at Indian Springs, and I hadn't said croissant in my whole life. I said, I got 2 cousins that are French. I've been to France twice, never said croissant.
What nationalities in Mountain Brook?
I know. She said, so we get up there, and I mean, this is exactly how the order went down. I said, you want to come inside with me. I left Celia in the car with the car running, whatever, of course. So we come out because it's freezing up here. So we go inside and we get in line and we stand in there. And I said, now you tell that man what you told me you wanted. Because I thought it was almost like an insult. And the guy just goes, it's just a thing. Strawberry acai with no inclusions. I thought no inclusions would be something you'd want to hear from your doctor. Luke, we got your x-rays back. There are no inclusions. Or
that was one of the latest rulings from the NCAA.
yeah. They said SEC, no inclusions.
No inclusions. Well, I'm glad you had to jump back on to talk about the Starbucks Mountain Brook store. Hey, stay with us if you can, unless you got another errand to run.
No, hey, let's do it. Y'all better hurry up and do it. I'm telling you, I get pulled around here now.
Let me jump in here on Luke real quick. Tough win this week, Luke. North Dakota State has a guy go for 40. Really nice setup for Nelson, though, and you can see that Grant Nelson still has a heart for the school that he was at before the transfer over to Alabama. Just talk about that a bit, Alabama basketball. Maybe give everybody an update because we're talking about the Auburn-Purdue game before you came in.
I mean, look, it's one of those games that you and it was North Dakota. It wasn't even North Dakota State. I mean, I don't know which one's actually better. But
neither.
I know Grant Nelson played for North Dakota State, so he didn't play for North Dakota, but they wanted a shot for him to go back. And, it's one of I think Dean Smith used to do that. I remember pretty vividly that Dean Smith's North Carolina team with Pete Chilcutt, who was from Tuscaloosa, came to Tuscaloosa, and I think they played Alabama in Tuscaloosa the night before the Alabama-Auburn game in '89. I'm pretty sure they did. Anyway, I'm all for it. Again, and you say, well, you're so pro schedule. I am. And Alabama's schedule is, I think it's ranked number one still. It was. I think it's right, actually maybe behind some other team that never wins a game because every team they play is better than them. But I'm also for things like this. If you have a guy from North Dakota and you're like, hey, we'll fly out there and we'll go play you all in this gym that isn't suited for the Sportplex. And, everybody was standing up against it was like the gym I played at in Indian Springs where we got rained out twice because, rain comes in, you got to put a barrel at half court. And everybody's like, we can't dribble around this thing like some kind of rodeo. But so I'm all for it. The Alabama team, though, they got some work to do. And they're good. But he's going to need to cut down on the rotation minutes for some guys, I think. And look, there's something to be said for depth. But when you have depth and everybody plays the same amount, there's some dudes on your team that need to play to get in a rhythm. And they need to play they need to know their spot. Right. And some dudes just want to know, hey, I'm the real starter. It's an ego thing, but it makes them play better. Some guys are like, hey, I don't want to start. That limelight kills me. I want to be the sixth man. And Auburn's done a great job of figuring out where they want their roster to be so far. They've played incredibly well, and they've got a nice rotation. And I think a lot of that is because a lot of the guys are returnees. Todd Petterford's new, and some of these other guys are new, but CBM is back.
Hey, Luke, let me get the TV break. I'll let you keep going. All right, everybody stay tuned. More of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown right after this. Yeah, keep going.
But who's the other guy's name? Not the other big guy. Not
Cheney Johnson.
Huh?
Cheney Johnson.
Not Cheney Johnson. The one
Dylan
Cardwell, who's been there. I'm pretty sure he was there when Randy's grandfather was at Auburn. He's been there forever.
Hey, but I think what you're saying is dead on with Auburn. Hey, we struggled with it last year. I thought we felt a little bit committed to playing that much depth, and when let's just say Cheney played the way that he did the other night. He had 26 and 8. We wouldn't ride anybody last year. It's like we were committed to, you've got 17 minutes written on this piece of paper that you're going to get this block of time. And I don't care if you go off or you don't. You're not going above or below this 17-minute mark. And I'm with you, Luke. There's a certain part of me that goes, Janai, you need to get, not when you're hurt, but when you're not hurt, you need to get 3/4 of the minutes. And I think it hurts you when you take him.
It really sucks for him that he got hurt so early in that game because you play, and so it acts like a game, and it kills your stats.
Mm-hmm.
It does suck. But John Dent says, is the guy for North Dakota that scored a bunch 40 going in the portal and coming to U8? Look, that's everybody
he can't go to Alabama. His last name's Eagleton. He's got to come to Auburn. John, he's out for y'all. He can't come to y'all.
Hey, look, John, I'll do the same. Yeah, I'm fine if he does that, as long as y'all get Tommy Joe Eagles back or resurrect him somewhere, and y'all can have all of them. But no, he was good. He was awesome. He was one of those guys that just had a night. Sometimes a guy just has a night. I'll tell you something. I know I killed Justin for some of the Cinderella stuff, but for whatever reason, I sort of got hooked on yesterday. It was a game between. Oh my God, I can't remember who. Oh, Western Michigan, and I can't remember the other one. And I just was like fascinated because one of the teams had a 21-point lead, and the other team kept chipping away, and the other team finally had a half-court shot to win the game with like no time. They had a 21-point lead with like 15 minutes left, and they came all the way back and won it with. And so basketball is always kind of fun like that, but that's how it's different from football. All those guys that played basketball yesterday, they could play another game that night. You play one football game, you need about 4 or 5 days rest for you can even think about suiting up again.
Yep. And what about the NFL right now? We ain't even talked about this, and we don't talk about it much, but, these teams playing on Christmas Day, and then they played a Thursday game, and then they turned around and play on Christmas Day, and then they turn around and play a Sunday, play 3 games in 12 days.
That's tough.
That is unbelievable, man.
With a 53-man roster. It's not like they got 85 Scallies out there.
Right. They talk about the free kick and all that kind of stuff. That was crazy.
I didn't even know you could do that. I wondered what happened there. I've never seen that before.
Kudos to Harbaugh for knowing that rule. Wow, dude. Just absolutely.
I think he just goes home and studies weird rules.
He did.
To throw people off later on.
Well, it threw Denver off to the point where they couldn't even score anymore after they kicked it. That was like 24-10. They kick it, go 24-13. All right, here we go. Welcome back, everyone, to the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. A couple segments left on the show today before Justin said Luke's got to go to Whole Foods for lunch and Hot Fish Club for supper tonight. If anybody's got an order, just text it on in to Luke and he'll get it for you.
And it is funny. Like, it is funny when I walked out the door to go to Starbucks and Chick-fil-A, right? There's a big box from Harry and David. Those people that you get 92 catalogs from a year. And I think I bought one pair from them. They've sent me $722,000 worth of catalogs. I've gotten a pair. But anyway, there was a box from Harry and David. And I was like, who is it? I said, it's got to be Krista. Well, when we come back and Krista's like, who is this from? And it said it was from somebody and I've never heard of, but it said it was, Merry Christmas, Luke. And I was like, I guess I'm just in Mountain Brook now. I just come home and there's just gifts on my door. I'm sort of like this. Maybe this is where all our taxes go. They're just throwing stuff at you. It's great.
Hey, let me tell you, if Alabama and Auburn just need to put flyers in the mailboxes up there for NIL, people just giving stuff away.
That's what. Well, if Ryan Williams had come to my door with a Harry and David gift basket, I would have written him a check.
Of course, right? That's just the right thing to do. All right, let's get into the Randy real quick. Finish up with Auburn, Purdue, and then we'll get into these playoff games today.
Well, I think Luke brought up the rotation, and that's where I was going to go before he jumped in. And Auburn's rotation seems to be changing, especially at the guard position. JB Pegues is not getting time.
He's horrible, by the way.
No, he can't get it going offensively, and he's got the yips or something. But the coaching staff seen that, and they've changed the minutes around. And Denver Jones and Todd Pettiford are doing a great job at the point guard position. So the worry is not that JB Pegues has to give you minutes unless it's just needed. So I like some of the changes that we've seen already in that time, and I do feel like that Auburn's not overthinking that rotation, whereas last year when we had some of the players that you felt like would be complaining or a little bit upset if they didn't get the amount of minutes that they had hoped for, I don't get the sense that this year that's the issue. And Ja'Kai Howard starting to get a few more minutes, and will they be deserved moving forward? We'll see. But I like where this Auburn team is, and I'm real happy that Janai is nothing serious. But I'll say what Luke said during the break. It's kind of tough for Janai. He plays a couple of minutes in the game, doesn't really have any stats to show for, and yet he played in that basketball game, and it's going to really hurt his stat line. And he's going strong for National Player of the Year. So maybe today he'll make up some of that he lost this past game.
Yeah, we'll see how aggressive he is and actually how many minutes they decide to play him. I think a lot will be determined in the first few minutes of the game. You'll kind of get an idea from there. That game at 3:30 in Birmingham, Legacy Arena, man, that is a tough ticket. Auburn and Purdue. Alabama plays in Legacy a couple times over the last several years against really good opponents. And, Auburn and Alabama both been in an NCAA tournament in Birmingham, and then now going to be back here for a game with Purdue. All right, let's dive into these playoff games here in the last segment and a half. Start off with SMU and Penn State this morning at 11 o'clock. I mean, I'm not overly excited about it, guys.
I mean, it is what it is, and I'll shut up about it. But and take Alabama out. Wouldn't it be a lot more fun if Ole Miss were in this game? Wouldn't that be a lot more fun?
Or South Carolina or Miami.
Or practically anybody else ever. BRHS, anybody. But regardless, this is – I feel like karma may get me on this one because and I sort of feel for Penn State because everybody is killing Indiana this morning for the most part. I'm thinking Penn State's got the weight of the world on their shoulders. Like, we got to go out there and kill these guys too. And SMU's probably better than Indiana. They're more battle tested, I think. So it could be a bit of a tougher game, but it's supposed to be really cold and snowy and all that up there. By the way, I meant to say this last time I was on here. We talked about, I can't wait. It's going to be snow. Why the hell do we want to play in the snow? Why does everybody keep saying that's so awesome? Isn't football just better? Let me tell you, give me a game in the Mercedes Domes all day rather than playing out in a snow-filled goat ranch like Penn State. I've been there. It's a goat ranch. It's fine. It's fine if you like goat ranches and snow. But, I mean, eventually I went there. We played them in September, and it was fine. It was nice. It was a little bit hot, but not too hot. I don't want to play a playoff game in Alabama in August either. You know why? Because everybody's sweating and got mud butt. I don't want that. Let's play on a temperate climate that's pretty nice that we don't have to worry.
Why don't you show? Why wouldn't you want to showcase the best teams in the best environment possible, where there's not outside elements? Now I know the NFL is different too. NFL's like crap. Miami Dolphins in Green Bay in the playoffs is like and what? I mean, they can't play in that. I mean, it's just like it's always been that way. But
it was the Dolphins and Chiefs last year. Remember, Tua Tagovailoa, they had to pick him up with those ice cones.
That's the coldest game, I think, on record, by the way. When, I mean, you're taking water out of the refrigerator. People are buying water at the concession stand, and as soon as they hand it to them, it freezes in their hand. It's like, good Lord, man.
Who wants that?
Who wants to sit out in that? And then you got a bunch of people sitting out there last night with no shirts on. I mean, that doesn't tell me you're tough. It tells me what I know you are, a buffoon. You're an idiot.
Most of them were the Indiana players. They got the clothes beat off of them.
I mean, you paid $1,000 a ticket to go watch that. I feel a little bit better about myself. I've been ripped off in my life, but that's a ripoff, buddy. You paid $1,000 for that. Randy, your take on SMU Penn State this morning?
I'm one that if I were up and lived in that neck of the woods, then I would hope that my team plays better in those conditions than your team does. So, I get why someone that may have grown up in Pennsylvania or, West Virginia, and I'll go back to the conversation that they were having on the show last night. You say, well, let's bring them into these conditions from time to time and see how they match up, because it happens in the NFL. And it's a home field advantage, to say the least, if you're matching up with an SEC school. Would it close the gap? I don't know. I don't feel like those schools outside of Ohio State from time to time is going to match up with the SEC wherever they play these games year in and year out. Not from what I saw last night. Notre Dame won't.
Right.
Luke, you think Notre Dame stands a chance against Georgia?
Let me get to break, guys.
Not a chance.
And we get to break. Y'all keep this going. When we come back, we'll do our last segment. Stay tuned. More of the Sports Split Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
You talk about getting suckered into buying some tickets when Thomas and Anderson and Jason and I went to South Carolina game in 2009 up there in Columbia. We didn't have to, we didn't do any game time or none of that stuff. And so Thomas said, well, I found this at this older gentleman and was selling tickets, like I got these tickets, $150 each. And Thomas said, okay, we need 4 of them. So let's cut a deal. He said, I can't go any lower than 125. That's what I paid for them. And so of course they were fake. I looked at and we gave, and I said, Thomas, this is what he showed you. He said, it says tickets misspelled Alabama, had Carolina on the end of it, and had $150 on the top of it. For the love of God. You just that man just came at you with a piece of notebook paper that said ticket on it.
He said he only I paid $125 for it. I got ripped off.
Yeah, and you were feeling sorry for him. You're gonna give him a little something for his trouble. That's the worst I've ever heard of. Justin Blitz says Andy Reid's mustache. Remember when that thing was frozen solid? He was just snotting up. He couldn't even he couldn't even do it like a little kid, when they do it on their sleeve. He cut his arm with their bicycles on that mustache.
Hey, Luke, is Truitt getting to do anything for the Arizona State?
Yeah, he got media credentials. So he's going to go, but now not to go on the field. He didn't want to go on the field. He wanted to go where they write stories because he's going to write a story for it. And so he goes in the press box. And yeah, so that's great. So I'm going to probably take Walker and Truitt and I'll go up there, and Walker and I'll just sit and watch the game. And because I bet the tickets won't be. I'm sort of hoping Clemson wins because then I know the tickets won't be bad. But Arizona State will bring one person, and it'll be Truitt. He's going by accident.
Justin said Andy Reid's mustache. I can't get over it. That's nasty. That stuff froze last year and it was drip. Ugh. Nasty. The walrus. Hey, I saw a meme yesterday. It's Patrick Mahomes and Satan had his arm around him and they were smiling. It said Patrick Mahomes thinking about how they're going to win the Super Bowl on a free kick now. Because they got some black magic going on, something weird with that team. They find way. I've never seen teams pull things out the way they do
it. It's just crazy.
I'm sick of it.
Everybody's they played Houston today. That's the other thing. Did you see Tony Kornheiser and whatever on Pardon the Interruption? They're like, I can't believe college football spit in the face of the NFL doing. We can't just all bow to the ring. You know what I mean?
You can't.
We got to find some. When did you want us to play them? We tried to put that Indiana game on Friday when nobody had to see
it. People were flipping around. Oh, I forgot about this. All right, here we go. I think we got about 30 seconds coming up.
How long is this segment, Brett?
He hadn't told me yet.
We still have one break at the end.
Yeah, you got that one break at like 57.
So probably 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and start back, Russ, if you're listening, so we can get this in and you just bring us in. Welcome back, everyone, to Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown, presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. Final segment here on the program, guys. Want to get to these other 2 playoff games that involve SEC teams. I still have to get used to looking down and seeing that Texas is a SEC team, but again, SMU Penn State this morning, Clemson, Texas. At 3:00. Hey, by the way, are these games on Cinemax?
Some of them.
Oh, what? I've never in my let me just say this game. I was going to say if Tennessee and Ohio State's on Cinemax tonight, which it's not, it's on ABC. No. I was going to say, but if it was, by the time that's over, you may want to go ahead and flip the channel real quick because what's coming on after?
I would like to hear what the announcers always go and be sure to stay tuned. Next is 60 Minutes, and they're gonna be like, be sure to stay tuned. Next is my stepmama caught me in the shower. right here on Cinemax.
All right. I'm telling you, man. I just looked down. I thought, did I read that wrong? Is that Cinemax? Okay, so it is
That's what
Cinemax.
Barkley was saying, Brett. Barkley kept saying, I don't want SMU in this thing. Give me Alabama or Ole Miss or somebody. Because Barkley, I think he's going to be doing some of the coverage. I'm not 100% sure. But I think some of that TNT crew is going to be doing some of this coverage. And they're like, we don't want to see them. We want to see something that's interesting.
Ain't no doubt. All right, Clemson, Texas, guys. I'll go around the room real quick. Randy, I'll start with you. Texas is a 13.5-point favorite over this Clemson team.
It should be. I still think that it's an odd dynamic with what's going on at the quarterback position for Texas. Can they overcome it this year? We'll see. Luke, you think what's going to be the story? I know that there's a lot of buzz around with the quarterback position at Texas. How about next year? Both won't be back there. Do you have a guesstimate on where either one of them may end up?
I think Ewers will go pro, and it'll be Arch Manning's show, which is kind of cool. I suspect we'll see them both today. Yeah, I think Texas is going to win, but I'm going to tell you, all the people, I had that tweet about, hey, I hope the CFP committee learned about this. And a lot of people are like, well, Texas shouldn't be in either then. And I'm like, I'm fine with that. Texas didn't beat anybody. All Texas did was the best wins on Texas's resume are 2 losses to Georgia. That's the best thing on their resume, far and away. And yeah, I'm with you on that. But so I'm not sure. I really want to pick Clemson here. I want to because Clemson played Georgia too. Now they got their brains beat in first game of the year, but they knew what they had to do from that point forward. And I don't know. I just feel like Clemson sort of got that Dabo. Oh shucks, we're just little old Clemson. Nobody counting us out. We ain't got a shot. And that's the kind of stuff he uses to win.
Cade Klubnik. I mean, he can get it done. I mean, I'm kind of with you. I mean, I don't think it's just cut and dried that Texas is going to run Clemson out, but we'll see. All right, a couple minutes left, guys. Real quick, Tennessee, Ohio State. Ohio State is 7-point favorite. Real quick.
I think the weather's going to be a storyline. We'll see how Tennessee plays. Ohio State, to me, offensively, is just not up to the standard that it takes to win football games. But with that weather added in and with the way that Ohio State can play on the defensive side of the ball, I think it's going to be a tough go for Tennessee. Just a really bad matchup. Tennessee deserved better than this matchup in the first round.
They did.
Should have made Indiana go back here again. Say, y'all go back here and get your butt whooped again. If we're going to put you in, you got to go prove that you can win this game. See, Tennessee going to Indiana, I like Tennessee's odds a lot better than that, and they probably deserve that. But, even though the seed would be less, ironically. But everybody seems to be picking Tennessee, so that tells me Ohio State's going to win it.
Well, all right, everybody get ready to turn on Skinamax and watch the NCAA playoffs this morning. Just said he thinks the Max thing is an ESPN handling the production and crew, but it's airing on Max. Man, we're just in a different day and age. It's TNT
we gotta
Max.
Watch on Christmas, everybody's got to get Netflix to watch an NFL game. We had to get Netflix to watch Mike Tyson show his bare butt to the entire world.
That was the surprise. It wasn't the fight everybody tuned in for. It was him walking away in the locker room with no underwear.
He said, I thought this was on Cinemax.
Oh, y'all look at this. Let me see y'all. I'll see you later. Nope. All right, guys. It's been a lot of fun this morning. We're about to sign off for TV. We'll stay on real quick to close things out on social media. But, again, thanks to everybody that joins us every single Saturday on TV, on Charter Spectrum. And we'll be back with you again next Saturday. Merry Christmas to everybody. Hope you have a great week coming up.
Y'all finish it out. I'm dancing over here. I gotta hit a bathroom.
He's like Wally Patterson that time. I said, he said, I'm on the toilet. I said, you could have just said it. Just not call me back.
John said, does he think do you think Ewers is going? I tell you, if you're getting offered $4 million to go to play college one more year, why wouldn't you just go take that money for 1 year, then go pro?
Yeah, there's so many rumors out there about him. I don't know what to believe, but I
don't either.
I believe he'll probably go pro. He's been in college a long time.
He has been in college a long time. So yeah, that John brought that up. They said that last night. Klubnik beat Ewers in high school. They were in Texas, against each other in a championship game.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Cade Klubnik knocked off him in that. So, well, all right, Luke's got to get to Whole Foods to get some.
Go to English Village and just throw some. Every day's like around here is just a parade. Just roll down your window and throw your money out.
It's money everywhere. The streets are lined with money.
Hey, I've heard all about Ellick City's like sewer bill and everything going up.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what, I would crawl naked on broken glass to have an Ellick City water bill again. I ain't never seen anything the way they handle water up here.
Well, y'all's water's sparkling water.
Listen, give me some of that tap. I want some of that good tap stuff with a little bit of floating particles in it. I want that. I don't need Perrier.
John said, are y'all going to Cinemax? Well, I mean, if you go watch the game, you better. CBS Sports Network to watch John Eaglestaff.
Eaglestaff. That's the most Auburn name that's ever Auburn. If y'all would go get him and he's
got to go get the guy with Eaglestaff. All right, guys, we're going to get out of here.
You coming over to go to the basketball game?
No, what I was going to. I was in the real quick story. I was actually driving the day that the tickets came available on Ticketmaster. You have to go in that little
portal.
Imagine that. Tell you, you get in there and you get in the waiting room, and then you go to the next thing, and then it says they let you in to the queue. The queue is what it is. I'd get in there and I'd select my tickets, and it'd just spin. So I'd get out and I'd have to go through the portal and the queue again, get to select tickets. The ones I wanted are gone, so I got to select some more. Spins. I never could get through, so I never bought any tickets. And then they went up so dang fast. I just said I ain't buying that. So not for one regular season basketball game. I'm not paying what they're asking. So
should be a pretty good game though.
Should be. I wanted to go. I wanted to come up. Been a great
Justin,
day.
Are you coming up out there?
Yeah, I know he's got tickets, but Justin's out there on the free market selling stuff. So
he is like he is a flea market, a human flea market. You turn around, he's on eBay, Craigslist, everything.
Justin's list.
That's what we should start. Justin's list.
Justin's list.
Just everything in his house. He just turns around and just goes all this. I want any of this stuff.
Anything you see. All right. How involved with Alabama with it?
I mean, I've heard there's some involved. I have no idea who.
So he said, give us a hint north of 250.
Give us a hint on what?
I don't know. I guess his tickets.
He's using this like Facebook Marketplace.
3:30, John.
Yeah.
3:30.
So we got NFL, college football playoff, Auburn basketball. We got a lot today.
Yeah, you got all kind of stuff. More somebody else, Greg Byrne and John Cohen on the side of the road begging for money. Justin said he sold his tickets for $800.
God almighty.
I mean, where's our Christmas present?
Every time I turn around, Justin's like, yeah, all I made was about $4,500 on that. I'm like, God almighty. I'm the one with 4 kids. Hook me up.
He said, I got this rare Christmas ornament over here.
I got Janai Broom kissing Bruce Pearl on it, and it's one of a kind. And I just sold it for $22,000. Well, let me go on over here. He should be taking us to Starbucks and Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, all right, we're gonna get off, guys. Appreciate it. We'll be back with you next week. Hey, Merry Christmas to everybody that's still watching.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas. Don't spend too much money. All right, brother.
Too late.
Yep. See you, brother.
See you, man.